Scared Ketchup music video you are about to see is brought to you by my new video game Call of Diddy. It's more fun than a freak-off, for real.
Hello, I'm Percy Friend Smell, and I play the Donald Trump character in the video you are about to see. I am an actor, a stunt person, a thespian. Well, I'm actually a thespian trapped in a man's body. Ooh. Please keep in mind that the following presentation is essentially a cartoon. Think Wile E. Coyote, but if he filed for bankruptcy 6 times and tried to overthrow the government. The comedy is real, but the violence is fake. No actual wannabe dictators were harmed during the making of this program. It's comedy, people. Comedy's back. Remember, Elon said so. Okay, that's my time. Be sure to subscribe and join this channel for bonus videos, live shows, and AI outtakes. Toodles.
Mic check. Floodlights. Phone cams. Lock scope.
3, 2, laser eyes. Dark, woke.
He's got the hair gel holstered, soup coat smoke. Thumbs on a timeline, clock to provoke. Flip the trope, meme scope, neon cloak. Caps lock cadence like a thunderbolt stroke. Yo, MAGA mango, he pokes the bear. Rips off the filter, inhales the air. And FT biceps cool, we'll parody those. Post grabbing bench, pressing broken red rose. District maps twisted, nah, unfold them. Lego like a ledger with the facts to hold them. Abbott drew snakes on the Texas plain. We redraw daylight, uncoil that chain. Nickname snapping like a jaw on a rope. Whole squad laughing at a truth he wrote. He's not polite, he's policy tight. Takes their dog whistles, turns them into fog lights. When they spam fear, we spam hope. When they gaslight, we cut smoke. Hands up, lens out, let it soak. Everybody say dark. Lights cut low, eyes glow go. We don't choke. Flip that show, no halo. Just night vision in the fog. They spoke, they post fear. He posts facts with a meme that jokes. Turn the caps to a caper till the line goes broke. Boom, he's in the room with the doom scroll spun. Thread so long they eclipse your sun. All caps thunder, but the syntax clean. Shot so mean they disinfect the screen. He's dunking on grifters with receipts and stacks. Timeline tight like the votes and racks. Tiny hands, giant frauds, yada yada he spits. While JD's measuring couches and fits. Gerrymander gumbo, nah chef, we play truth, season with numbers. Serve heat to the booth, laser eye lens, yeah, satire stings. Turns their cold posters into puppet strings. Sleepy lips, cool story, who's up at 3? Writing policy that can pass and beat. Take their NFT hero with the painted six-pack, pin it next to indictments, caption facts. They said, stay nice, we said, stay smart. Aim with light, hit the dark. They brought bark, we brought arc. Power grid, spark the spark. Recount, truth keeps score. Knock, knock, who's at the door? It's data with a warrant in a day in court. We don't snitch, we report. C-A-L-I. Write it, cite it, verify. Flip that map, magnify. Memes with teeth, qualify. Fraud. Okay, then testify. Dark, lights cut low. Eyes glow go. We don't joke. Flip that show. Mock their caps with a clap that the facts evoke. Turn the feed to a field where the truth goes. Oh, dark, we don't bow to a bluff or a bankrupt joke. Governor gloves off, but the rule book open. Every punchline notarized, motion spoken. Law and order, cool. Apply it to you. Equal measure, blue or red suit too. Hype men hollow with the fear store coupon. He replies, court date. Bring your boots on. You sell chaos like a late night pitch. He sells clinics, bridges, switch. Dark Brandon, nah. Dark Wolf's cousin, running up receipts like the facts start buzzing. Laser eyes, it's a metaphor flex. See through lies, not DM text. He'll meme you kindly, then bury the scam with a spreadsheet slam and a photo roll jam. They flood the zone with foggy smoke. We're floodlights now. Dark, cut that glow. I say go, we don't joke. Flip that show, let seats scream. Collect receipts, provoke. We'll tread truth till the trolls go broke. Dark, new rules, facts rule. Case closed. Not nice, precise laser eyes. Reading rights. Post the proof. Watch them croak. Good night, lies, dark woke.
told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room.
Dark woke. I guess it's using the powers of good to deliver. I don't know, this fascist regime. Its only Achilles heel is mockery. So I guess that's what dark woke truly is. Welcome to ViperTV Live. How's it going out there in Radio Land? I'm telling you, after seeing something like that, sometimes it's hard to immediately make commentary because you're so fucking busy laughing. What can I say? Sometimes people's true appearance really does come out. Oh my God. So unfortunately, we got something that we do have to cover today. Well, I got a couple different things we're going to cover today. I'm going to take you into Mordor, but I'll bring you back to the Shire, I promise. But what we got going on right now, unfortunately, is a gentleman named Chris Armitage. And he writes, in 1933, German conservatives thought that they could control Hitler. 2 years later, they were being executed in their own homes. I spent weeks researching this question, desperately looking for counterexamples, for hope, for any time in history where people successfully stopped fascists after they started winning elections. Here's what I found. Once fascists win power democratically, they've never been removed democratically. Not once, ever. I know it sounds impossible. I kept digging, thinking surely someone somewhere stopped them. The actual record is so much worse than you think. Let's start with Germany, because everyone thinks they know the story. Franz von Papen, the conservative politician who convinced President Hindenburg to make Hitler chancellor, said, "We've hired him." In January 1933. He thought he was so clever. Within 18 months, the Nazis were machine gunning von Papen's allies in their homes during the Night of the Long Knives. Von Papen himself barely escaped to Austria with his life. Every single conservative who thought they could control or moderate Hitler was either dead, in exile, or groveling for survival by 1934. Italy was even dumber, if that's possible. October 1922, Mussolini announces he's marching on Rome with 30,000 black shirts, except here's the thing. They were poorly armed, disorganized, and the Italian military could have crushed them in about 3 hours. But the king had his generals ready, and he had martial law papers drawn up. The military was waiting for the order, but instead, he invited Mussolini to form a government. Just handed him power. Well, he did tell the king that the socialists went by the slogan of "Man won't be free until the last king is strangled with the entrails of the last priest." So therefore he thought he was on their side. Being an imperialist, I'm sure he was, in his own way. The military was waiting for the order. Instead, he invited Mussolini to form a government and just handed him power. 23 years later, partisans hung Mussolini's corpse upside down at a gas station while crowds beat it with sticks. The king died in exile, and hundreds of thousands of Italians died for that moment of cowardice. Spain might be the worst because everyone saw it coming. 3 years of escalating fascist violence, actual assassination attempts. Then in 1936, Franco and his generals launched a straight-up military coup. The Spanish Republic begged for help. France said, "Not our problem." Britain said both sides are bad, and America declared neutrality. The result, Franco ruled for 39 years. He died peacefully in his bed in 1975, and they're still finding mass graves in Spain still in 2025. You want something more recent? Let's look at Hungary. Orban won democratically in 2010. By 2011, he'd rewritten the constitution. By 2012, he controlled the media. And by 2013, he gutted the judiciary. It's 2025, he's still in power. The EU's been very concerned for 14 fucking years, but they've written strongly worded letters and they've held meetings, and Hungary is now a one-party state in the middle of Europe, and everyone just kind of accepts it. Okay, but surely, somewhere, someone stopped them. Finland, 1932 is the only clean win that I can find. The fascist Lapua movement tried an armed coup before they'd secured government power. The military stayed loyal to democracy, crushed the rebellion, and banned the movement. That's it. That's the only success story. One time out of roughly 50 attempts, fascists were stopped because they were stupid enough to try violence before winning elections. Now, let's go to France in 1934. It looked like a victory for about 5 minutes. Fascist leagues tried to storm parliament for 6 days later, I believe. It was on February 6th, and 6 days later, 12 million workers went on general strike. 12 million. The entire country stopped. No trains, no factories, no shops, nothing. The fascists backed down. Great victory, right? Except those exact same fascists enthusiastically collaborated when the Nazis invaded 6 years later. They just waited. Sort of like how the North forgave and forgot when it came to the Civil War, but fucking Confederacy didn't. If there's one thing we learned about rednecks, they cannot take an L. Portugal's fascist regime finally fell in 1974. After 48 years, how? Military officers launched a coup. Democratic resistance had been crushed for 5 decades. International pressure meant nothing. The dictator Salazar, he died in 1970, and his successor just kept going until the military said, enough. And it's just a success story. Wait a half a century and hope the military gets tired. And the pattern is so consistent, it's almost funny if it wasn't so terrifying. Every single time it goes like this. Conservatives panic about socialism or progressives or whatever. They ally with fascists as the lesser evil. Fascists take power, fascists immediately purge the conservatives who help them. Then it's 30 to 50 years of dictatorship. This happened in Germany, Italy, Spain, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Greece, Portugal, Croatia, Romania, and Hungary. Want to know how many times conservatives successfully controlled the fascists they allied with? 0. Want to know how many times fascists purged the conservatives after taking power? All of them. Every single time. Here's the part that breaks your heart. Violence works. For them. Fascists use violence while claiming to be victims. They create chaos that requires their authoritarian solution. Then they purge anyone who opposes them. Meanwhile, Democrats keep insisting on following rules that fascists completely fucking ignore. They file lawsuits, they write editorials, they vote on resolutions, and fascists just laugh and they just keep consolidating power. The statistics are brutal. Fascist takeovers prevented after winning power democratically, 0. Average length fascist rule once established, 31 years. Fascist regimes removed by voting, 0. Fascist regimes removed by asking nicely, 0. Most were removed by war, military coups, and tens of millions died in the process. Now, I'm not allowed to make the obvious contemporary comparisons, but you're making them in your head. We control him is being said right now in 2025 by people who apparently never cracked a history book. Based on the historical record, there's exactly 3 ways that this goes. Option 1, stop them before they take power. Option 2, war. Option 3, wait for them to die of old age. They tried anyway, but here's the thing. We already missed our chance. The window isn't closing, it's closed. Supreme Court declared Trump above the law, and he's threatening to arrest political opponents. He's already sent the FBI after elected officials when they haven't committed crimes. Congress is his. Most state governments are his. Billionaire oligarchs openly coordinate with him. The window has slammed shut, gang. Let's stop pretending we're in the prevention phase and start talking about what you do when fascists already control the institutions but haven't been fully consolidated to power yet, because historically nobody's been here before, not like this. No wealthy democracy with nuclear weapons has ever fallen to fascism. The 1930s examples Well, everyone cites they were broken countries. Weimar Germany was weakened by World War I and hyperinflation. Not to mention you had a whole bunch of people who were just genuinely fucked up from trench warfare who had no problem committing violence. Same with Italian black shirts. Italy was barely industrialized and Spain was largely agrarian. They didn't have the world's reserve currency and they didn't have thousands of nukes. They didn't have surveillance technology that would make the Stasi weep with envy. America has all that. Plus geographic isolation, which makes external intervention impossible. Plus a population where 30 to 40% generally wants authoritarian rule as long as it hurts the right people. The historical playbook is useless here. We're in unprecedented territory, gang. But that means the old rules about what's possible might not apply. Option 1, the Blue State Coalition. A soft secession, if you will. California's economy is bigger than the UK's. New York controls global finance, and the blue states collectively represent over 60% of America's GDP. They could, theoretically, make the federal government irrelevant. Imagine if California, Oregon, Washington, New York, Massachusetts, and others started coordinating directly, ignoring federal mandates and creating their own interstate compacts for everything from climate policy to civil rights. They already started this with climate agreements when Trump pulled out of Paris. But I'm talking about going much further. Side-level cryptocurrency to avoid federal monetary control. State-funded healthcare systems that ignore federal restrictions. State-level immigration policies that simply refuse to cooperate with ICE. Make the federal government have to physically enforce every single policy, stretching their resources to breaking, really. The precedent? Well, the way the northern states nullified fugitive state laws in the 1850s, gang. The way the states are currently ignoring federal marijuana prohibition, but coordinated and comprehensive. Option 2, selective compliance and Irish democracy. Now, if you never heard of Irish democracy, it's when they were under British rule, the silent and dogged resistance of millions who simply ignored laws that they found illegitimate. Don't protest, don't riot, just don't comply. Red states need blue states' money. Blue state taxes fund red state governments. What if millions of people in blue states simultaneously decided to claim exempt on their W-4s and simply stop paying federal taxes? Not as a protest, but as coordinated forgetting. Overwhelm the IRS and make enforcement impossible, especially when they're consistently getting rid of the IRS agents. But they had to bring back a whole bunch, which actually has pissed off the extreme right as a betrayal from Trump to them, funny enough. The America First crowd, who is now saying that Trump is Israel first, dude, he's got the far right so pissed off at him, it's not even funny. It's kind of great, really. Doctors in blue states could ignore abortion restrictions. Teachers could ignore curriculum mandates. State police could refuse to enforce federal laws. Not dramatically, just incompetently. Sorry, we couldn't find them. The paperwork got lost. Our systems are down. Make every single act of authoritarian control require physical enforcement. Then make that enforcement impossibly expensive and difficult. Option 3, secession. We've already got 2 incompatible versions of what America should be. One side wants a multi-ethnic democracy with a social safety net. The other side wants white Christian ethno-state with unlimited corporate power, and these cannot coexist indefinitely, gang. But what if blue states started seriously discussing secession? Not threatened as political theater, but actually planned. Constitutional conventions, referendums, negotiations for national debt, division, military base transfers, currency agreements. And the last time the states tried to leave, it caused civil war, but that was over slavery. With clearly defined geographic boundaries and 2 relatively equal economic systems. This would be the economical powerhouses for leaving the welfare states. What would the red states do? Invade California? With what money? The mere serious threat might be enough to force structural changes. Quebec nearly left Canada twice and got massive concessions both times, just from credible threats. Option 4, international intervention. This has never happened to a nuclear power, but there's a first time for everything. Blue states could request UN election monitoring. They could sign their own climate agreements with the EU. They could create alternate diplomatic channels. California could request Canadian peacekeepers for election security. New York could invite European observers for financial transparency. Make it embarrassing, basically. Make America's collapse visible to the world and force the international community to pick sides. No, the UN can't invade America, but they can isolate it. Sanctions work, gang. Ask Russia. International humiliation works. Ask South Africa under apartheid. The uncomfortable truth is we're past normal and the fascists already won round one. They control the institutions, they have the judges, and they have their media ecosystem. They have their army of true believers who will excuse anything, but they don't have the money. They don't have the cities, they don't have the educated workforce, they don't have the young. And most importantly, they don't have legitimacy in the eyes of the majority. The historical record says once fascists gain power, they stay for 30 to 50 years. But the historical record doesn't have examples of fascists taking over a country where their opposition controls most of the economy, technology, and cultural production. We're in uncharted territory, gang, which means we need unprecedented responses. The question isn't whether these options are extreme, they are. The question is whether we're ready to admit that normal's already gone. The window to prevent fascism's closed, and the opportunity for something else, something unprecedented, might just be opening. German conservatives who said we can control him, they were all dead, or fled within 2 years. We're just months into our version of this story, but the question is, are we going to be the first generation that finds a new way out? Or are we going to be another cautionary tale that future historians write about? Well, at least we're finally asking the right questions, right? That being said, check this out right here.
So in the wake of Donald Trump's absolutely atrocious leadership, MAGA is now pretending to be upset with it yet again. I get tired of this. I don't know why these even waste time posting stuff like this on Twitter. We can't believe Trump is doing this shit. Oh my God, who could believe it? Like, shut the fuck up, bitch ass. Like, nobody wants to hear this shit from y'all. It's like they pretend to be upset or out.
Well, it's not like they didn't receive warnings day in, day out, when they just dismissed it as Trump derangement syndrome.
Outraged about something he does, and then like a week later, it's like, well, actually, here's the reason why. I've literally seen Alex Jones on Twitter justifying going to war with Mexico. The fat 1 inch away from a heart attack ass who's been on the internet ranting and raving for years about the Bilderbergs and Clinton and Obama and war and war and war and foreign war. Now all of a sudden he's pro foreign war in Mexico. He wants our own backyard to be America's playground battlefield. These people are just absolute animals. Okay, like conservative voters are fucking animals. They're dumb, they're stupid, they don't believe in anything. These people are, whenever they pretend like they're upset with Trump, don't even let a drip of sweat hit your brow.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I believe it was yesterday, Phase 1 MAGA. That could never happen. He'd never do that. Phase 2 MAGA. This is what people voted for.
Ow, these people are fucking lying. They're on Twitter complaining. An individual by the name of Patriot Voice wastes data on the internet to post this shit. MAGA has been sold the world's biggest lie, and many sadly bought it hook, line, and sinker, myself included. It's just time to admit the most unfortunate truth. We got played. By the way, there is no voting our way out of this mess.
You know, I'm glad that they're coming to these realizations and that they can have these conversations with people, but it's a little fucking late in this whole "this isn't what I voted for" thing, especially when it comes to, you know, mass deportations and things. Motherfucker, at the RNC, while they weren't busy Crash and Grindr, they were holding up signs that said mass deportations now.
Niggas warned you, and by niggas, I mean everybody. white women, white men, black women, especially black women and black men. A lot of folk that were blue tried to tell y'all. Y'all don't fucking listen. As I've said many times on this channel, can't nobody tell y'all niggas nothing. That's the problem with conservatives. In y'all's mind, you're never fucking wrong. And this is the reason why I've said before, it is basically at this point our civic duty to stop them from winning. Because they want all the power and none of the responsibility. It's kind of ironic how like all of these red pill stuff, like stuff that they say on the internet about women, like, oh, women want all the power and no responsibility. Very, very like, you know, it reminds me a lot of conservatives. You want all the power, you want Congress, you want the presidency, you want the Supreme Court, and then when it comes time to actually admit that your ideals are fucking bullshit, it's, well, actually, we got played by Trump. As if Trump is the...
It's so funny because they still have to remain in a, like the role of being victim. They're victims of the biggest victim. Go ahead and chew on that for a second.
Be all end all of conservative ideology. Well, at this point he kind of is, but you think these niggas will give up if Trump, like, Trump could literally just die tomorrow, just die. He could just die tomorrow, and I guarantee you they're gonna be back on bullshit the next day. Ain't shit about to stop. You already know this. America First Post, these are Nick Fuentes' goons on Twitter. The IRS has reversed its layoffs, calling back staff fired, pushed out, or retired early to fill staffing gaps and advance the one big
I just mentioned that.
bill. This marks a sharp reversal from Trump's earlier pledge to rein in the IRS when he blocked Biden's plan for 87,000 new hires, denouncing...
Dude, that's exactly what I meant earlier. The far right is pissed because everything that they were promised isn't coming through. And then, you know, obviously everybody's pissed off about everything being more expensive. So what I'm hearing from rumblings on the far right is they're saying they're just not going to vote. And if that's the movement that they're encouraging, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to get in their way.
It as an army of auditors and promised deeper cuts. So once Donald Trump actually realized he's supposed to be a statesman, and that in order to carry out the job of a statesman, you must actually have a facilitated, you know, well-run, well-facilitated, organized bureaucracy like the IRS, now all of a sudden he wants to recall them back. Looks like governing actually requires a functioning body of bureaucracies. Uh-oh, whoops, surprise. Next fucking post. This lady on Twitter, the Patriot Blonde, Patriots, I think it's safe to say we've been punked. But these fuck niggas, they're only saying this because Trump is hurting them. Trust and believe. When
Dude, exactly what he just said. That's the only reason that they're coming to these realizations is because they're being affected. I like to say that this boils down to a whole lot of, I only wanted to be racist. I didn't want to be poor.
All random Hispanic folk getting kidnapped in the middle of the night and yeeted off to like fucking like I don't know, like what's that country on the fucking side of Latin America? Chile and shit. Nigga from Mexico, he just wake up in
El Salvador?
Chile. Like, this is what Trump is. Trump literally said that he wanted to send Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda. This is the type of shit we're dealing with, bro. This is like, these people, they don't pay attention. I told y'all this before. Donald Trump trying to take over this country illegally on January 6th and all the schemes leading up to it, the false elector scheme, you fucking name it, trying to have fucking Bill Barr issue out false claims of election fraud, all of that should have told you, don't let him back in office, because anybody who's read any political philosophy knows.
But the thing was, is they conducted...
Trump has no choice but...
They conducted such a mass gaslighting campaign about everything, whether it was from January 6th to the election. Why would they think that they were being duped when every single time that we would bring up something that would be a fact or a reason why they shouldn't vote for Trump, we would just immediately get some either whataboutism or some deflection or told we have Trump derangement syndrome, and now they're being affected.
But to be a dictator when he gets into office a second time, because he crossed the Rubicon. If anybody were to defeat him or to defeat one of his successors, he would be open to going to prison. He cannot afford to lose. He can't afford for any of his successors to lose. Common sense would tell you that. The problem is this nation chose to believe Tucker Carlson when Tucker Carlson sat there and said January 6th was a quote-unquote guided tour. Fucking Joe Rogan, who just has one big blunt for a brain, literally sits there and just parrots these narratives about J6, and half the country, if not more than half, is just like, yeah, I don't know about J, I didn't tell you about J6. It culminates in this. Bro, Trump attempting to steal an election should have been the end. You can't trust him after that. And for his own ass, he has to become a dictator to protect himself from the consequences of his own actions.
Oh, by the way, funny enough, speaking of that, and the National Guard being deployed onto the streets, did you know like I said, apparently the beatdown of Big Balls was our Reichstag fire. Did you know that not only does he come from a KGB family, facts soon to come, but also he was trying to solicit a 15-year-old. Every accusation is a confession. So we ended up getting a Reichstag fire situation out of somebody who comes from KGB lineage who is trying to solicit a minor. Go ahead and chew on that for 2 seconds.
A simple read through a fucking introductory political philosophy book like fucking it's the book by The Prince by Machiavelli. If you read The Prince, you just know, even if you haven't read any, you just know, bro, Trump has no choice but to go all out now. He went too far. He went too far. Why do you think he's gearing up to never leave in 2028? He's not trying to leave, not just because he loves power, but because he's not safe if he leaves. My God. Now here we have Tim Dillon, his fat ass, pretending to give a shit about what Trump is doing. Now he's claiming that Trump is doing everything that, Alex Jones used to complain about and be scared about, and and let's watch this fuck shit.
All of these things that Alex Jones, and I've had Alex on, I like Alex, but all these things that Alex Jones was worried about when I listened to him in the late 90s, early 2000s are coming to fruition. And I don't know where he is on all of that stuff, but I know he's a big fan of Trump, but this is everything Alex Jones always talked. They've already got the cops on the street that are not cops or that are the military. They've already got the National Guard on the street.
I mean, this is literally what we said was going to happen with Project 2025, but, once it got actually out into the actual atmosphere and once it got to the Trump camp and they saw just how unpopular it was, all of a sudden he had to pull a Roy Cohn 101 and immediately dismiss the fact that he had anything to do with it until after he wins and Benny Johnson and Matt Walsh are bragging about it. But this is the exact same shit would happen. But no one listened. Apparently we had Trump derangement syndrome.
Straight. They already have all your information in D.C., and now they just get to decide what is and isn't over the line. That should scare everybody. You're fucking nuts, dude. If this doesn't scare you, you're nuts. All of these things that Alex Jones, and I've had Alex on, I like Alex, but all these things that Alex Jones was worried about when I listened to him in the late 90s, early 2000s are coming to fruition. And I don't know where he is on all of that stuff, but I know he's a big fan of Trump, but this is everything Alex Jones always talked about. Military in the street, the FEMA camp, the tech company that monitors everything, the surveillance. This is all of that. I mean, not to sound like a fucking nut. This is everything a crackhead. And I don't even mean a crackhead like crack, but a guy smoking weed in a room with a fucking black light and a fucking, insane clown posse tattoo on his arm. I'm thinking of a very specific guy I was friends with. But this is everything that guy would have talked about. He'd be like, bro, there's going to be military in the street. They're going to put you in jail for fucking thoughts, man. If you just say them, bro, you're going to be in fucking jail.
The thing is what he's talking about is what we always knew. We always knew that the Heritage Foundation was shooting towards some sort of 1984 bullshit or Handmaid's Tale because they didn't read that as fiction. They read it as a fucking instruction manual. But people were so deluded by not just propaganda, but also the tool of whataboutism, which on its own is a propaganda tool, that anytime that you presented any facts that would show what the narrative Tim Dillon is talking about right here, it would immediately just get dismissed as like liberal gobbledygook.
Well, there's going to be a fucking company that monitors everything you do.
Yes, it's called Palantir.
Bro, these niggas are fucking retarded, bro. Conservatives are fucking... They're not even just dumb. They're just like... Bro, these niggas, bro, they were warned. I've literally seen right-wingers posting Kamala's quote about how Trump would be, like, uncontrollable with power once he got in. Like, some of them are just starting to outright post Kamala quotes now. You want to know the reality? Niggas told y'all from jump. And the fact that that man could sit there on stage and say that we have concepts of a plan for healthcare and y'all still voted for him? Burn in fucking hell, dog. Burn in fucking hell. Conservatives aren't mad about tyranny. They're mad about Democrat tyranny, liberal tyranny, black tyranny. They're not actually against tyranny on its face, on a, you know, for the sake of, you know, just morality's sake. They don't like tyranny when it's coming from people they don't like. Not that they were even experiencing tyranny, but see, conservatives have this romanticization of them being these freedom fighters and these 1776 warriors against tyranny. But the true soldiers of tyranny, the true henchmen of evil, is the Conservative Party. They serve evil.
Yeah, like the 2A bros who are all, you know, we need to have these firearms and we need to make sure that school shootings keep happening, because the only time that they give a fuck about the Second Amendment is if there might be any legislation after a mass shooting or a school shooting like what just happened. That's the only time that they give a fuck, because the rest of the time that this whole 2A bro cosplay, they just use it to become ICE. It's like, we have these weapons, now we can turn them on the people that we don't like, and we've been given carte blanche to do it. It's not don't tread on me, it's tread on them.
They promote evil. They serve tyranny. They promote hatred. They promote the limiting of freedom. They promote the limiting of free speech. You can't even burn the flag in this country now without being arrested, according to Donald Trump. And you want to know something? Conservatives will twist themselves up into the most insane pretzel you've ever seen just to justify Trump. This will be no different from any other era in human history. People who know better will not do better. People who know better will continue to sink further into the ever-sinking quicksand just to never have to say, I was wrong. Just to avoid saying I was wrong. I haven't, my most popular...
You know, it's really funny that he actually mentions that, because, you know, once a fascist regime falls, let's go ahead and take Nazi Germany, for example. How many people all of a sudden are like, I had nothing to do with that. That wasn't me. And that's how history is going to look at this movement when the time comes that it finally implodes.
Popular video is about me leaving the right. I can admit when I'm wrong. Admitting you're wrong is nothing. Admitting you're wrong is nothing in the grand scheme of life.
To a narcissist, it's death.
Shit. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, you were wrong, whatever. Like, it's not that bad. Conservatives can't do it. They have to ride. They have to ride this shit until it explodes. Joe Rogan, the rest of these niggas. Look at Dave Smith. Dave Smith is a prime example. Donald Trump bombs Iran. he says Donald Trump needs to be impeached. When he realizes MAGA has zero interest in actually impeaching Donald Trump, then he backs off and says, actually, Kamala would have been the worst option. They can't do it. They can't, even when the signs are so clear that it's time to jump off the ship, they can't bring themselves to do it. And honestly, I can't blame them. They don't have the IQ necessary to realize, I ain't gonna lie.
Well, when it comes to Congress, I mean, compromise, the name of the game. Do you remember when Tim Burchett literally gave the game away when he was talking about what can happen when somebody has been caught in a precarious position, maybe in some sort of untoward action with minors, Mac 8. But he said that we're going to need you to either vote or not make this vote because otherwise there's tapes out on you. I mean, he literally gave the game away.
This ship actually about to sink. I clearly knew at 21, learning about J6, I said, not only is this morally wrong, but I would be crazy to ignore the morality issue here and still ride this train. I'm gonna crash. I said, nah, we good on that. Morally speaking and strategically speaking, I ain't got no business being a part of this. See ya. Dave Smith, Joe Rogan, niggas who's too old to be doing this shit, they don't get it. In 20 years, they'll be sitting there saying, yeah, man, it's just, that just wasn't the guy we voted for. They'll never admit. They'll never admit. Because to admit means to actually reflect on the fact that they got finessed. And it's easier to fool a man than to convince a man he has been fooled. Damn shame. If you like the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out.
Yeah, show Rashad Crenshaw some love. I love that guy. Yeah, I agree. The Allies did make townspeople around concentration camps walk through and see the horrors, and people covered their faces. They didn't want to look or acknowledge the atrocities they committed or were accessory to. They know what they did. Did they want to admit that they knew it was wrong? Not really, no. Why? Because then, as just Rashad just said, because then they have to admit that they were fleeced. And people really hate to admit that they were fleeced. You're watching ViperTV Live. Stick around. Woo!
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
We're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that.
His biggest MAGA supporters said no cuts to Medicaid.
It is wrong to cut health care for the working poor.
There's a lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you are dead wrong.
The effect of this bill is to break a promise.
Trump lied.
The Medicaid cuts could cause nearly 12 million people to lose their health insurance.
With this mega bill set to enact the largest cuts to Medicaid in decades, experts are warning that many struggling hospitals in rural communities could close their doors.
But they're not cutting it. They're looking at fraud, waste, and abuse.
He thinks you're stupid and he can fool you. He doesn't care about your health insurance. All he wanted was your vote. Donald Trump. It's just not working.
I mean, dude literally said, I don't care about you. I just want your votes. Do you remember? I mean, it doesn't get much more blatant than that. I believe there were people like fucking passing out from heat at the rally. And that was his exact words was, I don't care about you. I just want your votes. See, the thing is about, I've been thinking, there's only 8% of the military that might actually be behind the regime if they decided to try something fucky, especially come time for the midterms. There's a bunch of combat veterans who are gathered in D.C. to give their opinion as to what's going on with this whole occupation thing. Let's check this clip out.
Oaths. The oath that we took. There are no fucking enemies out here to destroy in close combat.
We're not under a state of emergency.
You have rights. You are not obligated to follow unlawful orders.
If you're not against fascism, you're supporting it.
What would you say to the National Guard soldiers?
I've been in your boots. I went to Iraq, I went to Afghanistan, I served. I took the same oath that you all did.
I am far more fired up now than any of my 5 previous deployments. And I've been around the world. Cuba, 95, Bosnia, 96, Kosovo, 99, Iraq, 08, Afghanistan, 2013.
I'm a retired disabled combat veteran.
I mean, you literally just heard that dude name his entire tour of duty, and all this is happening and being commanded by somebody who had his daddy draft him note so he didn't have to serve in the draft because of bone spurs. Did you notice when the military gave him his parade and they kind of marched at ease and they gave him the squeaky ass tank? When they went by him, they played Fortunate Son. And if you know anything about Fortunate Son, well, the lyrics say it all. But the regime is too daft to catch what was going on.
I served a little over 20 years in the U.S. Army.
As a veteran myself, it really struck a chord in me. I was already antsy about what's happening with the Donald Trump regime.
The illegal occupation of United States territory by the U.S. military is just that. It's illegal. You know what I mean? The president had no right to do that. We're not under a state of emergency where our sovereignty is in danger. Okay, he's pushing a false narrative.
This is an intimidation tactic by a man who does not respect the fucking Constitution that we fought for. And that's why, as a veteran, I believe that we are oath-bound to fight. Our democracy is in danger. Our entire way of life is in danger. The American experiment, good, bad, and ugly, is in danger right now.
This is a clear escalation of the intimidation that this administration is trying to do against the American people. The mission of the military is never to police its own citizens. That's never been the core function.
Also, the more that this happens, the less respect the military is going to get. They're going to be seen as an occupying force as opposed to the force that is meant to protect us.
Of the military in any way, shape, or form. It was something that the Founding Fathers were scared against. That's why they didn't have a standing Army and a standing Marine Corps and Navy in the early days of the Republic, because they were scared of somebody taking control of it and using it against the citizens. That being said, we have a standing military now, and all this is doing by putting them in the streets of, antagonizing citizens and whatnot is just degrading the trust of the people in their military.
The intimidation factor is what really angers me the most. You should look at your military as they are here to protect me, not they are here to police me.
I really encourage any soldier who ever believed in that Constitution, ever believed in that oath, took that oath seriously, join us.
Remember your oath. The oath that we took when we all put these uniforms on was, I swear to support and defend the Constitution.
Exactly what he said, the Constitution. Like, it feels dangerous to speak out now, but if we don't, imagine how dangerous it's going to be once we can't. And that's the reason why I do this. I'm used to hiding behind a guitar or an instrument when I'm interacting with people. I've never been one to just look at the camera and just talk. But this is something that I feel like I have to do because I have knowledge of a lot of different things, and I hope that I can find a way to convey this to you so that it's not only entertaining, but it's also informative. I'd much rather be making records, trust me, than having to deal with explaining how we get out of a fascist regime that we've been voted into because America is at the pinnacle of its stupidity.
And it is, in my opinion, an absolute violation of that oath to come out here and point and carry your weapons on American streets, to put your mine-resistant vehicles on American streets. It is absolutely, in my opinion, undermining the public confidence of the military. People are going to have trouble trusting the military when the military is policing the people. That's why the Posse Comitatus Act prohibits the military from doing law enforcement activity.
I understand that if you're being told to go here, that means your colonels have signed off on it, your sergeant majors have signed off on it. But remember, my lie, they signed off a lot of that shit too. And I was following orders is not a fucking defense if somebody's going to swing when crimes are happening. You know in your heart right from wrong.
A, we know about the Nuremberg defense because of that exactly, and it didn't work. Also, B, look at his shirt. His shirt is so fantastic.
And you know what right looks like. You know what these people out here, you see them out here. There are no legitimate targets out here, right? The military, especially the Army, is designed to engage and destroy our enemies in close combat. There are no fucking enemies out here to destroy in close combat. We're not even at war with anyone.
Exactly. There are no fucking enemies out there for them to combat. What they have done is they've decreased DC's revenue. I believe restaurant attendance is down like 40%
right now. So if you're going to be here, remember your oath.
You had your right hand raised to support and defend the Constitution, and I want you to know that you have rights. You are not obligated to follow unlawful orders, and there is the GI Rights Hotline, which is 1-877-447-4487, which you can...
Let's repeat that.
Unlawful orders, and there is the GI Rights Hotline, which is 1-877-447-4487, which you can call and get guidance on if the orders that you are being given are lawful or not. And if they're not, I hope that you have the courage to stand up and do the right thing.
Wherever we see National Guard, we're going to inform and educate them. My protest is against the National Guard president, not against the National Guard troops.
That's right. That number you can call if you feel like you are being forced to follow an unlawful order against United States citizens when you swore an oath to the Constitution, not to the president. So, since we've talked about that, I feel like it's kind of important to cover one more thing. And that's that we are starting to win when it comes to messaging simply by using mockery, which is the Achilles heel of fascism. Now, I'm not sure if you're used to hearing anything from one of my favorite veterans who makes political content, Richard Ojeda. But he really, really, really nails this. And then I think this is a message that we can all take to heart.
California Governor Gavin Newsom and his team have figured out a very entertaining way to deal with Donald Trump at his own rhetorical level. They've got a new social media strategy that is both, I got to say, pretty damn funny and I think extremely effective, mocking the president with a spot-on impression of his very weird communication style.
All capital letters, Trump, and very Trump-like. It's obviously trying to goad Trump and get attention.
Newsom's press office for the past week and a half has been flooding the zone by flooding social media posts with posts that mimic Donald Trump's style and doing what no Democrat has tried for the last 9 years in dealing with Donald Trump, beating Donald Trump at his own game.
What's up, everybody? Major retired Richard Ojeda here, and oh my, the love boat is in rough waters, folks. California Governor Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump have been engaged in a public spat like nothing we've ever seen before.
Donald is finished. He is no longer hot. First the hand, so tiny. And now me, Gavin C. Newsom, have taken away his step. Many are saying we can't even do the big stairs on Air Force One anymore. Uses the little baby stairs now. Sad.
The biggest, most humiliating takedown of the orange Mussolini yet. Full of hilarious meme mockery, all caps rants, funny fonts, and none of it has tickled Trump's funny bone. Nope, he's pissed. And so is the cult.
Since Donald Trump posted a fake Time magazine cover of himself as king, Gavin Newsom's team did the same thing. In one post, Gavin Newsom calls MAGA Republicans, quote, snow.
Oh my God, one of my favorite things that I've seen from this meme war is where Newsom just said, Trump is imitating me. And then when it looks like, I guess he's just been gelded officially by Newsom and decides not to post in all caps, like to show the, I suppose he's inside of his head, then Newsom just tweets low energy, sad in all caps.
Flakes in all caps.
I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish. And you're the governor of the biggest state in the union. What are you doing?
Yes, it does come across as childish.
Those are Congress people. And it
You're
feels
right.
like we're watching a summer camp skit. We're watching slam poetry. We're watching these attention seekers that are just so wrapped up.
I just love watching them like clutch their fainting, like clutch their pearls and fall on their fainting couches after approving this style of communication for about a fucking decade now.
In clickbait, and they are supposed to be governing.
Hypocrisy is dying a sad and tragic death right now. Say the anchors from the network that paid $800 million for their lies.
The toothless mob of ignorance, the F your feelings crowd, is suddenly drowning in all kinds of feelings. They're fuming, exploding, their grenade heads are blowing sky high. The group that brags about being tough, about being unshakable patriots, has melted into puddles of tears and despair over some memes.
When they go low, we go high. I mean, the way I see it, when they go low, we should bury their ideas below the Capitol. That's the only way we're going to protect the most vulnerable. Governor Newsom gets that, and yes, we can talk about, and there's great points to be made about how long it's taken us, but he's meeting the moment now, and it's just a matter of, do others join him as he does?
You've heard it said a million times. Trump loves the undereducated. He talks to them on a third grade level, and they love him for it. They show up in his cheap-ass t-shirts, his made-in-China hats, waving Trump 2028 flags off the sides of their rusted-out trailer homes. It's the same crowd that hates on immigrants and the LGBTQ community all week, then praises Jesus on Sunday, talking in tongues like a busted sprinkler head stuck on stupid. And right after the sermon, they're at Cracker Barrel being complete to the waitress they won't even tip. That's Trump's base. No filter, diarrhea of the mouth, constipation of the brain, and Trump encourages it. He wants them to be the worst versions of themselves, in their families, their communities, everywhere. MAGA is a hate group. That's where history will place them. What makes this trolling of Trump so sweet? Newsom is beating Trump with Trump's own playbook. All caps, random quotation marks, funny fonts, absurd meme energy.
The last week, Gavin Newsom, and why am I giving him advice? You have to stop it with
the thing with, like I said, with the pearl clutching is they just don't get it. It's like you're literally holding a mirror up to them and they're pointing at the mirror saying, "I never noticed how ridiculous you are."
the Twitter thing. I don't know where his wife is. If I were his wife, I would say, "What? You are making a fool of yourself. Stop it. Do not let your staff tweet. And if you're doing it yourself, put the phone away and start over. And if you want, he's got a big job as governor of California, but if he wants an even bigger job, he has to be a little bit more serious.
Yes, right. Be more serious. Stop posting exactly like the President of the United States does.
Remember Trump's pathetic $99 NFT cards? He was a cowboy one day, an astronaut the next. Fat Brandon with a spray tan the day after. Pure grift, pure garbage, a complete waste of money. Now Newsom flips the script, bare-chested on top of Godzilla, waving a flag, carrying a water bottle like it's Excalibur, and MAGA can't handle it. Their alpha male egos are shattering because Newsom is showing them exactly how stupid Trump has looked for the last decade, and rubbing their noses in it like a dog that crapped on the rug. You want to know why this mockery hits them so hard? Because Newsom isn't just mocking Trump. He's mocking their heroes. Everything and everyone that their little dysfunctional brains think is somehow fighting for them. Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster. Yeah, brother. Once in a neon spandex hero, now just another punchline. Kid Rock, their culture warrior. MAGA's John Wayne with cirrhosis of the liver, day drinking with Lauren Boebert, pretending that counts as patriotism when it's really just an STD waiting to show symptoms. And Tucker Carlson, please, bow tie boy turned Fox reject, booted out like yesterday's trash, now trying to play YouTube prophet. But unless he starts reviewing Hungry Man TV dinners, that ship has sailed. And Newsom drops them all into an AI prayer meeting. That's the masterstroke, a parody revival, laying hands on him like he's the chosen.
The ability for us to start using AI as mockery is a tool that I can't be thankful enough for, because it gives us the ability to take the most absurd ideas and make them into reality, which unfortunately the right wing has been able to grasp as well and use it for racist things, but you can't win them all.
One. And the only thing missing, the perfect touch. It's setting the whole scene inside a Cracker Barrel. Picture it. The checkerboard table sticky with maple syrup, rocking chairs creaking out front, and a bunch of snot-nosed MAGA kids inside screaming at the top of their lungs, "They took the cracker and the barrel from all of us!" That's why this trolling lands like a punch to the gut. It's karmic. True, absolutely true. Their idols turned to clowns, their Orange Lord punked in 4K, and their favorite greasy spoon turned into a punchline. That Cracker Barrel scene hits home because it's exactly who they are. Bitter, cheap, oversalted, and long past their expiration date.
But nah, for real, it's so amazing to see the group of strong alphas melting the fuck down over Cracker Barrel. It's beyond impressive in the way that they can always be strong yet weak at the same time and paint their enemies the same way.
The MAGA boat is rocking, folks. They are up shit creek without a paddle, heading straight for the sewer falls. And now they're in complete meltdown mode. Gonna need baby bottles, binkies, and therapy sessions just to recover from this one. Here's where it gets even sweeter. Gavin Newsom isn't just dunking on Trump for laughs. He's bottling that energy and turning it into sheer power. The man has figured out the algorithm. He's riding the wave. Every caps lock post, every meme, every video, it's campaign fuel. While Trump is rage posting on True Social like your drunk uncle on Facebook at 2 a.m., Newsom is farming small dollar donors, lighting up the Democratic base and building a following that's hungry for a fighter. That's what scares Trump the most. He knows how this works. He invented the trolling.
What he doesn't realize is he's creating the Tea Party of the left, because we're getting the ones who decide that they want to continue supporting letting people starve. We're getting them the fuck out. We're getting people the fuck out who say that we can't continue trolling. We need to be focusing just on the economy, which, by the way, we can walk and chew gum. We can focus on the economy. We can focus on trolling. We can focus on Epstein. We can focus on getting AIPAC out. Did you see fucking Charlemagne called Hakeem Jeffries AIPAC Shakur?
Playbook. But now Newsom has stolen it, updated it, and started winning with it. And make no mistake, the party loves it. Democrats have wanted someone who isn't afraid to throw punches, someone who won't fold under the weight of Trump's constant bullying. Newsom is stepping into that role, and you can feel the momentum shift. Polls in California show him surging ahead, even topping Kamala Harris in a hypothetical primary. The base is fired up. Donors are paying attention, and Republicans, they're panicking because for the first time, Trump looks small. He looks weak. He looks like a clown trapped in his own circus. And that Donald is finished post, that was the moment the tide turned. Baby stairs on Air Force One, brutal. That image alone was enough to send MAGA into full-blown grenade head meltdown. Here's the guy who bragged about his stamina, who mocked Hillary Clinton for coughing, who said Joe Biden was frail, now reduced to toddling up the kiddie steps, and Newsom twisted the knife, packaging it in Trump's own voice. All caps, random quotation marks, sad at the end. It was parody so dead on, half the internet thought Trump actually wrote it. That's how powerful the mirror can be. You hold it up, and suddenly everyone sees the joke for what it is. Don't forget that nickname either, JD, Just Dance Vance. Ha, that's worse than his couch potato zinger. Tell me that doesn't sting like a slap on a new tattoo.
Hey, you leave Vladimir Futon out of this, okay?
The eyeliner warrior of Ohio turned into a TikTok punchline by Gavin Christopher Columbus Newsom? Huh? Stick that one in your fuse box, JD. What's funny is that Trump has spent years giving himself grandiose titles, calling himself the chosen one, a very stable genius, even comparing himself to Jesus. Newsom flipped it on its head, mocking Trump's fragile ego and conservative MAGA men while crowning himself with the most ridiculous explorer name he could think of. People laughed, and that's the nail in the coffin for Donald Trump and the MAGA cult. He can survive scandals. He can survive indictments. Hell, he can survive insurrections. But what he cannot survive is being laughed at. And
in fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was him getting laughed at the Correspondents' Dinner is why he decided to run for president. If that tells you anything about a fascist's fragile nature, the moment that they become the joke, they have to just make their entire life about revenge on the people who made them into that joke.
neither can his base. They can dish it out, but none of them can actually take it. That's why all of this has stung MAGA so deeply. To Trump fans, this was sacrilege. Kid Rock, Tucker, Hulk Hogan, they're not just celebrities, they're cultural idols. MAGA eats, sleeps, and breathes this trash. And here was Newsom turning them into props for a joke. That's what made it burn down deep. It wasn't just mocking Trump, it was mocking the entire MAGA universe, the septic tank of their culture heroes, and exposing just how pathetic it all looks when you pull it into the light. And how did they respond? Like the snowflakes that they are. Suddenly the F Your Feelings crowd had all the feelings. Right-wing commentators started whining about civility, crying that Newsom was being unpresidential, moaning about mean memes. You cannot make this stuff up. These are the same people who laughed when Trump mocked disabled reporters, who cheered when he called women dogs, or when he came up with playground nicknames like Crooked Hillary.
Oh, trust me, from some of the back and forth I've got into the lower life forms, the dark spaces, the moment that you give it back to them, they just cannot handle it. First thing they'll try to do is call you some sort of homophobic slur. And then you just point out, because I'm sure that what you said to them was a fact, you just say, I noticed you didn't call me a liar. Ooh, that pisses them off.
And Sleepy Joe. They thought it was genius. They thought it was tough. But now they're begging for civility because their guy is getting clowned. It's hypocrisy at its...
Oh, yeah. Remember the whole, like, we need to turn the temperature down. We need to have unity after Jan 6 failed. Remember that shit? Remember them trying to do that? And the moment that, like, we put our hand out, they just immediately threw a fucking pair of handcuffs on it and attached it to the fastest moving vehicle. They always say they want civility when they're on defense.
It's most transparent, and everybody sees it. This is karma in real time. For 10 years, Trump has built his empire on mockery. He humiliated opponents, degraded anyone who stood in his way, and turned cruelty into entertainment. His base cheered it on because they thought he was untouchable. But now he's the one being mocked. He's the one being laughed at, and there's nothing that he can do about it. Every rage post he makes just proves the point further. He's rattled, he's humiliated, and the one thing Donald Trump cannot handle is humiliation and small crowd sizes. Meanwhile, Newsom is grinning and we're laughing. The more MAGA melts down, the more energy he builds up. The base is electrified, donors are giving, the media is paying attention, and the memes keep going viral. This is what Trump never understood. Mockery is a two-way street. Once someone else figures out the formula, the magic disappears. The emperor has no clothes, or in this case, just a red hat made in China and a pair of baby stairs leading to Air Force One. So where do we go from here? Straight into chaos for MAGA. Their cult leader is looking weaker and sicker by the day. Their idols are being mocked into irrelevance, and their entire movement has been exposed as fragile, hypocritical, and utterly ridiculous. The boat...
It reminds me of that meme that I saw where it's just we all know that, Trump's hand is rotting, but the meme is it just shows somebody smacking the top of their hand with a hammer. It says MAGA trying to replicate Trump's hand. First it was ear Kotex.
Is sinking, the rats are swimming, and the MAGA Titanic is headed straight for the bottom of the ocean. And Gavin Newsom, he's standing on deck with the life raft, laughing, posting memes, and making Trump look like the sad old fool that he's always been. Donald Trump built his empire on humiliation. Now Gavin Newsom is making him choke on it. That's not just politics, that's karma. And that is an absolute fact.
And then go ahead and tell us. Go ahead and tell us where any of that is wrong. Because more than likely the only reason you're saying it is because you're melting down. Mockery. We've always said that that's what you got to do, and now it's finally happening. No reason to be civilized. Fascists aren't civilized. They only understand the idea of belittling one's opponent. We're getting better at it daily. What can I say? It's not too hard when, they make it as easy as they do. You're watching ViperTV. Stick around.
I'm covered in blood.
Go to skipfranzjr.net for podcasts.
Record player that I could just spin records all the time.
I run into the bathroom and I'm covered in blood. Like I had put my tooth through my bottom lip.
For music. For gaming and pro-liberty game rants. That's skipfranzjr.net.
And don't forget to come to the Discord. We're always partying there. It truly never stops, whether we're listening to music or playing games or talking all kinds of mess. You never honestly know what it'll be. But there is always going to be a healthy amount of mockery. That's the one thing I can promise you. Every single time, whether it's going to be on ViperTV Live here or in the Discord. It's been great getting to hang out with everybody. And we got this. There's still choices out there. There's still options out there. It might seem like we have no hope, but it actually turns out that every time that we think that we're screwed somehow, a little light appears. Like, for example, with the whole Texas gerrymandering thing, they might have gerrymandered 5 seats, but they also put 10 swing districts into play. So don't worry, gang. All you got to do is stick with each other, stick with the truth, stick with the Constitution. And until tomorrow, later, skaters.
Told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room.
section. PBD is